Okay, I'm not going to make this video very long, but basically, I just wanted to point out that, first of all, Apple has had a very, very good season thus far, or quarter, you could say. This is fourth quarter. And they've just passed the $3 trillion mark again. So yeah, they were in a rut for a little while, but now they're at 3.02 trillion as market cap, right? So part of that was due to the fact that the M3 chip is coming out very soon with pretty much all of their mobile products, the iOS pad, the Apple TV, and so forth and so on. The Macs, all the MacBooks and whatnot. And all of that is neither here nor there. The simple fact is Apple's on a roll. I count on Apple. Apple obviously pays dividend per share that you hold. And thanks to the fact that they had stock splits, I assume that most people have gotten into Apple and they're sharing in on the, on the gains. I hope, because some people, they did other things with their money. So yeah, Apple's doing very, very well. I should also point out Microsoft is nearing that $3 trillion mark. Microsoft is also doing quite well. And you'll notice that when you look and you hear about the companies that are doing pretty well with computing and AI and whatnot, one of the things that you're also going to notice is the fact that when they talk about one company, they end up talking about another. You see, when you actually understand what the future of AI tech means for this market, you understand that that old saying, a rising tide lifts all boats, is true. So Microsoft makes computers. Microsoft makes Windows. Microsoft makes Microsoft Office, right? Of course, they rely on Intel heavily in order to make their CPUs, sometimes in order to make their memory, but they also rely on other companies to make memory, like Micron, and they also rely on other companies to make CPUs. For example, you can have a Windows computer running on AMD processors. So the simple fact is, a rising tide lifts all boats. All of these tech companies are in it together. And you're lucky right now because this is the ground floor. As far as AI goes, the future of computers, the near future of computers, is going to be called the AI PC generation, right? So they're going to have computers that are basically loaded with all types of AI equipment for AI rendering and AI memory search. So basically, what I'm saying is they're basically making it so, and you've already seen this on your phones. You're going to have phones that can automatically tag people's faces, can search through all of your photos instantaneously and figure out who's who and group people. You already see that right now with your iPhone, but the next generation of this stuff is going to be even faster and it's going to be even better. Like, I'm amazed on my iPhone 15 that the artificial intelligence that's in it has the ability for me to pluck individual characters out of pictures. So basically, all you do is touch and you copy paste people out of photos. If you take a photo, you can just touch the photo and it asks you if you want to copy a person out of the photo. And that's how, I post certain images sometimes in my community chat. If you have an iPhone 15, you can do that. And that means that every iPhone from this point on will have it. So the iPhone 16 will have it and so forth and so on. I'm pretty sure the Android phones, the Galaxy phones, I'm pretty sure they have a feature like that too. I'm not really sure if they do, but I'm pretty sure they have something like that. But it takes a pretty powerful processor to be able to do that. And the new Apple processors are pretty damn powerful. So Apple's doing really well. Microsoft's doing really well. I'm really happy with my Apple Watch Ultra 2. It's easily like the greatest piece of wearable technology I've ever had. It looks like something from a James Bond movie. It measures just about everything. It has an altimeter, heart rate sensor, blood oxygen. Like, it's got so much stuff in it. It's got an automatic compass. It's telling me the weather. It has an EKG. I mean, the thing has everything in it. The only things it doesn't have are like blood pressure and maybe blood glucose Like they probably need a what's it called? They need like an implant in order to really give you up to date data. And I think most people don't want to have implants put in them unless they have medical or health problems and they absolutely have to. But for the most part, it's easily the greatest piece of wearable technology I've ever had. The mere fact that when I go to Bali and Singapore and Japan, and I get in their beaches and I go swimming, I don't have to worry about this thing malfunctioning. I don't have to worry about it shorting out because the watch is literally built for diving. Like, that's just amazing. So I bought my Apple Watch. I paid for it using Apple Pay. I maintain an Apple savings account. Like, Apple's doing just great. They've got so much money from so many people. And as the Christmas holiday nears, you're going to have people buying Apple products. We're just going to keep on going up. That's the bottom line. And the same thing could be said about Microsoft. Now, as far as NVIDIA's also, as you can see, NVIDIA's doing very, very well. I'll take a look at the 3-month or even the 6-month or even the year. NVIDIA, as you can see, is doing quite well. Over the last 10 years, they've basically become second to none when it comes to graphic technology, GPUs, AI computing. And the reason why you've seen NVIDIA in the news recently, now right now it says there's no news stories, which is not completely true. But I saw a news story that was saying that NVIDIA is going to continue to sell chips to China. I think it's absolutely stupid for America to try to cut NVIDIA and China's ties. That's not going to ever be allowed to happen. NVIDIA needs the Chinese market, and they need the Chinese market because there's so many people in it. They absolutely rely on all of the newcomers in China to the market in order to buy their processors, in order to buy their graphic cards. Because you got to understand, there's a lot of people in China who do enjoy playing video games, and they're looking for NVIDIA products. Now, as far as AI technology, America is basically trying to stop NVIDIA from selling China AI. So what would end up happening is one of two things. Either China would spy on NVIDIA and they would get enough data to make their own AI better, or they're just going to make their own AI anyway, because China has their own CPU and GPU manufacturing. The key is Taiwan controls like 90% of the chips that are made. So America right now is trying to cut the ties with Taiwan, and they're trying to bring that to domestic production. So that is the reason why I always suggest buying Micron, because Micron is a chip and memory manufacturer in silicon. So America is going to heavily invest in Micron. They're already building a factory up in Troy, New York. And as I've told you about Micron before, I told you about it when it was like less than $50 a share. Now they're up to like 74, I believe. They were up to 77, but it had a little slip. Intel's up. Intel's another. I mean, I was telling you to buy Intel when it was $33. It's 42 now. AMD, I repeat myself ad nauseum. I was telling you about AMD when it was $50 a share. It's $128 a share now. So I was right. This right here, there was a story about Lisa Su, and she was getting ready to release a new chip because basically AMD is trying to target NVIDIA, and they're trying to build AI chips as well and as fast as NVIDIA. Here's the problem, though. NVIDIA's AI is pretty much unchallenged right now. Their RTX series GPU has DLSS and ray tracing and whatnot, which are basically two artificial intelligence systems. DLSS basically takes the information it has and it creates higher frame rates by making more frames. And then you have RTX, which allows it to trace the path of in-game light sources and this, that, and other, and predict where they're going to be and blah, blah, blah. But none of that's really important. AMD wants to be as powerful as NVIDIA. Right now, and even before, NVIDIA and AMD are both heavily undervalued. Even though they're high, I still consider them undervalued. Now, I'm just glad I got into them when they were cheap. In fact, some of the people who follow me, they were buying AMD when it was like $9 and below $10 and whatnot. But I always knew that they were going to do well. And it was funny because I never really liked AMD for GPUs, but I always respected the fact that they made CPUs and GPUs and they did it inexpensively. And a lot of their stuff was very competitive with NVIDIA. However, it wasn't as expensive. So I always respected AMD. I always knew that they were making, good products. And the same goes, they were up against an Intel. So, I always respected Intel. I always knew that Intel was going to be big. So I've been investing in Intel for a while. Intel pays dividends. As far as I know, AMD doesn't pay a dividend. But if you're the type of person who wants to hold the stock and wait until they start paying a dividend, or hold the stock and then short it when the value goes up, either way you win. And if you'd bought it when I told you to, you would have doubled your money. At least you would have doubled your money, because actually I told you to buy it 50. It's 128 now. So there's that. And then on top of that, there's Micron. It's $73. I thought it was 74. It must have gone down about 40 cents or whatnot. But Micron is performing, in my opinion, quite well, considering I was trying to tell you to buy it way back before it was even $50. TSM has been hovering around $100. It's been hovering below it, but I believe still TSM, this is Taiwan Semiconductors. I still think they're undervalued because, and the reason why I say that, why are they undervalued? I say that because the AI PC generation hasn't hit us yet. Right now, you probably noticed Microsoft is selling a discounted Microsoft Office. They're selling a discounted Microsoft Windows 11 and Professional. They're about to go to Windows 12. When they go to Windows 12, they are going to introduce AI PCs because they're going to probably use that as their marketing technique. All of this AI technology is going to be leveraged in these things. And from the things I've been seeing, these Intel chips, for the 14 generation Intel chips, these things have the ability to upscale 720p video to 1080p video on the integrated graphics alone. They don't even need video cards anymore. If they can do that now, then chances are the 15th generation, which requires a brand new motherboard. You can't use the old motherboards for the 14th generation. You're going to have to buy an updated motherboard for the 15th. The 15th generation Intel chips are going to not only be more powerful than the 14900K right now, because they're going to obviously have a 15900K, a KF, KS, but these things are going to be AI heavy. So with the 15th generation chip, you may not need a GPU at all because the integrated graphics should be powerful enough to run AI and to do oversampling of video. And they may have features like DLSS and ray tracing already built in, whether or not you have an NVIDIA graphics card or not. So that's going to be pretty amazing. And they're going to need to do that because, they need to sell as much of the stuff as they can. But I also want to say, I think an important point that's being missed is right now America is basically trying to decouple itself from China. And they're trying to move production to India. Right now, that hasn't fully happened yet, but it's slowly happening over time. So that means that if you aren't vested in these stocks yet, you still have time to do so. And that's the most important thing to me, that the fact that you actually have time to do it. So naturally, I always talk about banks and oil stock. Yes, you should definitely be buying banks and oil stock. Now, I know somebody is going to say, oh, yeah, well, why don't you talk about the Bitcoin rally? Yeah, they can have a cryptocurrency rally, but considering the fact that it's down still from the high of 68,000, and it's also down from 55,000, where a lot of people actually bought in, pushing it up to 68,000 when they were wasting their welfare checks that the government gave them. I'm not impressed. Wake me when it passes 55, or better yet, you can tell me you said so when it passes 68, because those are the two numbers in my mind. People wasted a lot of money on crypto, and that money was evaporated. So just because it goes from 30 to 40, that doesn't mean anything to me. And the bottom line is, while these people's money is trapped in Coinbase and trapped in Robinhood because they're afraid to sell because they're hoping it'll go up just high enough for them to break even, possibly so that they can sell. And chances are they won't sell. Chances are they'll be like, oh, well, if it could go up to 45, if it could go up to 55, maybe it can go higher. And they'll just leave their money there. Yeah, meanwhile, I'm taking dividend payments, reinvesting them, and I'm getting ready to fly all around the damn world while these dudes are sitting here and living in their parents' basement wasting welfare checks on cryptocurrency. So I'm not impressed. That's the bottom line. I'm not impressed. The automotive industry, GM has been stuck around $33. Obviously, the gamble that they made with electric vehicles, them, Ford, and Stellantis, obviously that gamble has proven to have basically not have been a good gamble. And it's funny because every time I look in the news, they're constantly talking about how the electric vehicle bubble burst, and they're talking about, oh, there's no demand for electric vehicles. Let me tell you something, and you're seeing it more and more because they keep on repeating the same shit. I think that the AI news journalists that are automatically writing all of these articles, I think that these things just keep sampling each other. First of all, before they say that there's no demand, I would like to point out that the Tesla Model Y is the number one electric vehicle in the world. For certain periods of time, it was the best-selling vehicle in the world. So I don't really buy this whole that there's no demand bullshit. What I do say is that the vehicles that we want, the market hasn't given us. For example, where's the Chevrolet Silverado EV? Where is the Chevy Blazer? Where is the Dodge Charger Banshee that makes that horrible whine when you rev it? These vehicles are nowhere to be found. Where's the Ram Rev, the REV? Where is it? The electric Ram truck that's supposed to basically replace the 1500. Where is it? They put out a hand. Now, you think about it. Mercedes has put out a full line of EQ products. They got the EQ-B. They got the EQ-E. They got the EQE SUV, the EQS, the EQS SUV. They've put out a full line of electric products. I'm starting to see them more and more on the streets because I guess wealthy people are able to, go after those now. And I think it also has a lot to do with the fact that some of these liberals are disappointed with Elon Musk, and they're trying to paint him as an anti-Semite and blah, blah, blah. So they refuse to buy Tesla, blah, blah, blah. So some of them are taking those, cash payments and they're going over to Mercedes, or they're going to BMW or Audi. I'd like to point out that BMW is basically selling out of their iX models. That's an electric car. Their i4 is selling. The i5 recently was released. They have lease specials on the i4 and the i5 and the iX. I'd like to point out that their lease special is on the i7, and those are selling. $1,300 a month with like an insurance payment more than $600 a month. Those things are selling. So how are you telling me that there's no demand for electric vehicles? No, let me tell you this. What you did was you put out shitty electric vehicles that we didn't really want. You made a Mustang EV, Ford, that Mustang owners don't really respect or want. Now, it's not a bad car necessarily, but most of the people didn't want it. You put out a truck, the Ford Lightning. Then you threw up markups on the shit, and you charging people $25,000, $30,000 more than the car's worth. Of course there's no demand for it. Nobody wants to pay $30,000 over sticker. Why should they? Then there's GM. I'm still waiting for my Cadillac Lyric. I ordered, now understand this. I ordered this thing in May 2022. Now that's after That car had already been basically planned and released, but they didn't have the all-wheel drive version until I put down the deposit for mine, which was $100. So it's December 2023 now, and I'm still waiting for my car. Now, from what I'm hearing, the reason why they haven't released these cars, now they've got a bunch of people who've put pre-orders for these cars, and these cars are in Tennessee right now. And supposedly they had problems, or they had a problem or having problems with the Super Cruise system, which is the self-driving. Supposedly one of their cars hit some old woman and dragged her ass like 30 feet or something like that. If you look it up, it's there. So my thinking is, it's like, you can give me the car without the feature enabled, and you can just enable it later when you figure out how to make it work. You don't have to keep the whole car from me just because the feature's not active. But they don't want to release that car until that feature is fucking fixed. I think that's a pain in my ass. I didn't expect to have to wait through the new year before getting my car, but it looks like that's what's going to happen, because even when they ship those cars, they still require like 3 or 4 days before they're allowed to actually give them to you, because they have to go through like quality control or something. So it looks like they're forcing us to wait until 2024. That's what it looks like. Now, some people are like, oh yeah, well, you shouldn't wait. Just fuck it and forget it and just go get something else. Well, the problem is there's really nothing else, because when you really look, everything else is either smaller, not as comfortable, not as luxurious, or way more expensive. And then there's the insurance costs, which guarantee that they kill your deal, whatever it is. I was quoted like $800 for a Mercedes S580. I was quoted $700 a month from my insurance company for, what was it, BMW iX. It's like, I'm not paying you $700 a month. That's crazy. Electric vehicles right now, and it feels like there's an effort against them for some reason. Electric vehicles right now, they have higher insurance costs. If the car is damaged in a certain way, it may render the entire car inoperable or unusable or unsafe, because if you damage the battery packs, they may find that it costs way more to repair the car than the car is actually worth. So insurance has been a problem. In fact, I think Tesla's insurance company that they started for their cars, I think that's under a lawsuit right now. So there's a lot of problems. And, as for gas cars, some people are like, oh, yeah, well, I'd rather have a hybrid and everything. I'm like, well, hybrids are very sophisticated vehicles, and they're more sophisticated than a regular gas car. The problem that you're going to have is, if anything breaks on your car and you have to put your car into the shop, it's going to take them a long time to fix that shit. It's going to take them a long time, because these motherfuckers with these strikes have totally screwed up the supply line. They've screwed up the supply line, the supply chain, and there's a lot of parts that are missing, and they have to catch up making them. And also, that's another problem with the insurance when it comes to electric vehicles. Some of these companies don't have dealership models, and that includes Rivian, and that includes Lucid. And if they don't have dealership models, they may not have enough parts, just in case you get into a car accident, to repair your car immediately. And that's part of the reason why some of these insurance companies are abandoning these things or charging outrageously for them. But the other problem is, if you lease one of those cars, the insurance is going to be higher than if you financed it. And since most of these cars are so expensive now, the leases are pretty much what's drawing people into buying them. So now, you lease the car, but your insurance is sky high. So you can't, it's just like right now, you just can't win. So I wouldn't say that the demand is necessarily low for EVs. The demand is low for everything. You can't buy a fucking house. You can't buy a car. The housing, 30-year fix for 8%? A car loan, in some cases, 8%, 9%, 10%. Even if you have excellent credit, that's crazy. It's like you can't buy anything right now. And not to mention, starting a trade war with China and Russia really wasn't the smartest thing to do when you've got sheet metal coming from Russia and you've got electronic components coming from China. Yeah, starting a trade war wasn't a good idea. But that's just where we are. So as far as these other stocks go, Berkshire A and Berkshire B, I'm still up in Berkshire. despite the fact that Charlie Munger is no longer with us, and we have no idea how long it'll be before Buffett is no longer with us. But it is what it is. I do agree with their strategy of making money in the stock market, buying dividend-paying stocks, whether the market goes up or down. As long as the stocks pay a dividend, you still win. Your money just sits there and it just waits. It just collects dividends and pays you while it's sitting there. So I consider that a good strategy. But other than that, most of the market is a lot of the market is really not moving. They keep talking about the Magnificent Seven, which might as well be the Magnificent 12. And those are the things doing all the major movement. But bottom line is banks, energy, and tech. The AI PC market is going to be a really, really, really big thing. You can also buy banks right now. Some of the airlines are rock bottom, like JetBlue. You can easily buy yourself JetBlue stock, and you could just short it when it gets back to $10. That may be a while. But the banks and the oil companies, you can't go wrong with those. Like, even if you look right now, the majority of them are nice and green. Some of them look like they're down. If you look at BP, they're only down like less than 1%. You got Chevron less than 1%. Everything's down like less than 1%. That's part of the issue that's going on right now in the Middle East with Saudi Arabia and Russia doing their taking turns in oil production. Because the simple fact is, even though America may have put sanctions on Russian oil, the simple fact is Europe doesn't have that option. If oil prices spike, you're going to have a lot of freezing Germans and freezing other Europeans over there. So, a lot of them don't really have that option. And Russia is still, their economy is still getting stronger because they're trading with China and they're trading with other parts of Southeast Asia and Africa. So, the BRICS community is growing. Despite what America, says, the BRICS community is growing. And oddly enough, those people actually look presidential when they have their meetings. Meanwhile, we've got Biden, and I'm just waiting on pins and needles until the election. So we got a while to go. Because it's a little bit less than a year until election day. But we got a little while to go. So there's that. But other than that, there's not really much on the market to really, really talk about. I think, obviously I own credit cards. And all of them, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, all of them pay a dividend. I'm actually very happy with the performance of MasterCard. Yeah. So, as you know, I've already put together and planned my Passport Bro vacation. We're going to, Japan first. So that's business class on ANA. Obviously, I'll be making plenty of video. Business class on ANA from JFK to Japan. Then from Japan to Jakarta, at which point I'll be making video of the lounge and whatnot in either Japan or Jakarta or both or whatever. And after Jakarta, we got to fly from Jakarta to Bali. And then later on, I'll be flying from Bali to Singapore, and that's on KLM. And from Singapore, I'm going to spend some time in Singapore, make some videos. And then from Singapore to Japan, and then from Japan back to JFK, New York. So that's the trip. I'm really excited. I'm not going to exactly tell you exactly when I'm ready to leave, because that's like a security issue. Like, I have neighbors and whatnot who watch my houses. And the last thing you don't want people to, oh yeah, he's gone, let's go rob him and shit. Listen, you will get a bullet. I'm not going to tell you who's going to put it in you, but It's a security issue, so I just want you to know, don't try nothing funny. We've got cameras, and you will be on the 6 o'clock news. Anything else? No, I think that's about it. So yes. Oh, look at this. It says Kathy Woods, ARK Investment, is selling stock. Oh God. Yes, and I put up a comment. I says do the opposite of what Kathy Wood suggests, because she is horrible, horrible at giving stock advice. ARK Investments is garbage. So I guess I'll just end with this. Just a quick look at AIPC. You see all of the major players, AMD, Microsoft, everybody is ready. So they're talking about right here, they're talking about some of the features that AIPC is going to bring that are going to change PCs. So you can read most of these things yourself, but they have AI in the Windows shell. It says Windows Central says Microsoft is weaving AI deep into Windows shell. The graphical interface underpinning the operating system paired with an upgraded Windows Copilot. This is going to make, a lot of practical features. I'll get rid of that. So they say they're going to have a smart history feature, a feature that lets you see your history of open files and tabs from any PC you've signed in on to jump back into action. They're going to have a smarter search engine, higher resolution. So they're talking about NVIDIA's DLSS, which I already mentioned, and they have AMD's FSR, Fidelity FX Super Resolution AI, which basically means the AI is going to have, as I mentioned, the ability to upscale images, and it's also going to be able to create higher frame rates. Normally, you would have had to have very fast graphics cards to do faster frame rates. Now you're just going to have a computer creating the illusion of having faster frame rates by creating frames. So that's interesting right there. You're going to have more live captions, smart live captions, and they'll be able to translate multiple languages simultaneously in real time. And that's a really good feature. Like, I've got it on my phone. Sometimes I use WeChat, and the translations are instantaneous. So as a person is typing something to you, it auto translates it. You've seen that feature pretty much on Facebook and Instagram too. So that's like a really cool thing. AI wallpaper. I would love to see what that looks like, because you've been seeing those pictures I've posted, AI photos on my community chat. So that's going to be interesting to see AI wallpaper. And imagine that you have, features on your computer that change based on your personal mood, and the computer is sensing, things about you, and it's automatically changing stuff. So that's really interesting. And AI PCs are not going to be very expensive. They really want to move this stuff. So Windows 12, it says, is scheduled for June 2024. So you can probably bet that there's going to be a movement in Microsoft stock, by June 2024. It probably is going to be moving up. AMD introduces data center and PC chips aimed at accelerating AI. So everybody's in on it. I see the M3 chip right there, so that's Apple. Everybody's in on this. So the question is, are you in on it? And where will your money be when the stock breakouts happen this time around?